NorCal. 209 King of Comedy. It's Rick without the K. James presents, in my opinion, podcast.
Should a man have the right to opt out of being a father? And we're going to add in, because I believe this should be added already. Should there be a DNA test upon childbirth? I think so,
Just
right?
Just part of the process.
As just part of the process, especially like in this state. Don't quote me. I may be wrong, but I think I'm about 90% right. In this state, if you don't question the paternity in the first 2 years as a dad, that's it. You just got to pay child support. Mm-hmm. So the child can be 3 years old, something can happen, and then you find out, wait, I'm not the father, and you're still stuck paying that fucking kid for that kid. That isn't yours, right? So I think for shit like that, if you're going to make laws and legislation for shit like that, then you should say, hey, man, we're going to make a paternity test. And I think it would make a lot more women fucking be honest about the situation. And it would just help out the process because no kid wants to learn fucking 5-6 years down the line like, hey, that wasn't my dad. Like, you know, God forbid something happened and maybe you need a kidney or some shit and that isn't your father. You know what I mean? So, and as far as the opt-out, I think the question was because, and I understand it's a woman's choice, it's her body, it's this or that, but a dude doesn't get any of that shit. What if it was just some girl that you met and you guys had, and she decided to keep it, and you was like, hey, man, like, we were drunk, I forgot to wear a condom, like, I'm stuck paying this bill. And I think for a man that has had custody issues, man, it is not fair when it comes to custody court. It is not. I make that joke that a man can go to court, man and woman can go to court, and he can say, she can be smoking a crack pipe, right? She can be just smoking a crack pipe, and the judge will be like, baby, can you put that out? And a man will be like, man, my crack itches. Oh, he said crack? He does crack? Oh, take his kids away. Like it is literally like that in court. Like, it's just fucking stupid that a woman gets so much priority for the fucking kid, right? Unless, of course, you're about to say, no, I give my kid, but you got to be willing to be that type of woman. If you're not willing to be that type of woman, it's whatever she's willing to give you when it comes to child custody, which fucking sucks for a dude. So I think there's a way where, like, let's say you make a certain amount that they should be able to do, okay, here, you're going to make this and leave that amount and be like, hey, man, I can pay out and opt out to be a father. I'll sign away my rights and I'll pay this from here on out. But I think that's even fucked up. Like, if a dude's making $50,000 a year when the baby's born and he decides to go to school, get an education, up his, and make, now he's got to pay more. You know, at what point, like, I've gone to court and I've heard a man who moved in with his dad to pay rent and shit. This was probably fucking 8 years ago. And he goes, look, I'm paying for this, my kids. And she was bitching about how he had a nice house. He's got 4 bedrooms. His dad helps him, this, that, and the other. They ask her, they're like, what are you doing? She goes, oh, I work at a part-time job and I live in a 1-bedroom apartment. The dude goes, man, I do tile work. And, you know, he was paying $1,200 a month for 3 kids or whatever. Yeah. Right? And the judge tells him, looks like you're going to have to get a second job because she needs more money. And I was all, this bitch just told you she works part-time. Why don't you tell her ass to get a full-time fucking job? And then it offset the fucking child support and payments. That's where I come from. I know I probably pissed off a couple of viewers, and they're probably female, so fuck you guys anyways. Because you guys don't know what it's like to be that dude. I'm just glad I only got 9 months left of this shit. So we're going to go ahead and pass it over to a male.
Really? Because, I got to go first?
Yeah. Do you think a man should be able to opt out, and do you think that there should be some kind of DNA test during childbirth?
That's a good question. I think that...
why do I feel like you're trying to be politically correct on this shit?
See, I'm not that guy either. For me, everything comes down to the child. Everybody says, I want to do what's best for the children, but very few people really live that. Everybody says that.
Nor does the court,
right?
Because that's bullshit.
Right.
So.
What's best for the children? So it really needs to come down to that. If a child... dang, that's... You know, I guess, It can't. It would have to depend on the situation. I mean, if I suppose if she's not going to let him spend time with the child, but I guess what you're asking though is like if he just doesn't even want to, he just wants to completely opt out, doesn't want to have any, even if she would like be willing to give him part
I
custody,
think a
and he
man
just
should
doesn't
have
want
that
it,
should have that option.
then it might be in the long run that that child might be better off without that guy anyway.
Yeah, because I know women that force I go and drop off the kid to him because that's the only way he's going to see the kid. And I'm like,
Right.
your
That's
kid's
sad.
going to know that after a few years. Like, dad doesn't even want me there.
Right.
Like, I have friends that the grandparents watch the kid because the dad is too busy bullshit. You know what I
Right.
mean? And I'm like, what kind of relationship are you building for that fucking kid? Like, just let him opt out. Let him fucking go live his life.
Right.
Right? So,
Yeah. I guess I can see benefits for both sides, but yeah, I guess I can kind of see.
what about the DNA test? Let's start there.
Well, so just mandatory DNA. It's just part of the process when a child is born. I think I'd buy that. I think I'd go for that. Yeah.
Right? Because they test for everything else,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
They can tell if your baby's going to be retarded. And, I mean, what do they call it? Sorry. You
Yeah,
gotta be,
I know, right?
but-
we got to be
Yeah.
careful.
But I think that's.
Yeah, because
But they test for all that shit, right?
then
Yeah.
hopefully if that's something that everybody knows is going to happen, then a woman will have that conversation with her man before they get there. So
And she should
that
be
would force
responsible
that.
enough herself.
Yeah.
But I
It would
think
force
that would help to
conversation.
not even have that conversation. Be like, hey, it's just mandatory. And, it was some on the ballot. We voted for it. And now,
Right.
you know.
Right. Well, I'm saying if she knows that there's going to be a DNA test
Oh.
and that it's not his, then she's going to have to tell him ahead of time.
Yeah.
Because why wait? Unless she's not sure. Oh, see, that's the other thing. She might not be sure. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not.
Yeah.
It could be Kabir's. It could be Rick's. I don't know whose baby this is.
It's
and,
Kabir's.
and we're going to
I got my nuts cut, goddammit.
and we're going to find out she'll be sweating it until that test comes through. So if she confesses something, it ends up being your kid anyway. Then there's all kinds of. I think just for the fun of it. Yes, do the test just for the funsies.
You know,
Can you imagine how busy Maury Povich is going to be? Just popping out of fucking.
but they can do paternity tests while the mother's still pregnant too.
They can?
Yeah, they can.
Okay.
So I mean, like,
But it's not mandatory.
it's
so,
not mandatory.
So do
but
you think
I
it should be mandatory?
I do. Oh yes.
Okay.
You know.
There, we heard it from a female.
I
and it's
do.
documented
You
on
know?
video.
If you're not sure, then you shouldn't sit there and throw that responsibility on that on that man. You know. We had a situation. I'm not going to throw any type of personal example out, but it is personal, and I'm not going to get into what it was. But we had that in my family where we weren't sure who the child belonged to, and we had to question it for a while. And that child ended up belonging to my family, you know, and the baby was going on 2 years old. And so I never knew that the child support thing, that's crazy because it was right before the baby's second birthday we found out that it belonged into our family, you know what I mean?
Oh.
So, and that person, the father of that baby, lost out on all the first experiences. And he wanted to be there, you know what I mean? And so it's kind of sad because then it was kind of like a little, somewhat of a tug of war because them two are friends. You know what I mean? So,
shit.
and so it was sad, but like we never sat there inside my family like we're like, oh, like, you know, like we're all thankful, like, you know, at least we know these people, we know that they're good people, that they're loving that baby, you know what I mean? And so the baby still goes over there, and the baby's already like, what, 11? No, 10, you know what I mean? So it's just like, everybody's still stuck around, you
Right.
know?
Right. So
we
you're saying yes to the DNA.
Yes, because
should and you, as far as I know, you have two good baby daddies
Yeah.
that are willing to be there.
Yes.
But if you had another baby daddy or a
I
fourth
do.
baby daddy,
I'm on my third.
so fuck you, Rick.
I hate you.
But if they decided to opt out, would
I would
could you let them?
Yeah, I would.
And do you think that a man should be able to be there?
You know what? It
You
is
know,
a
the same
choice.
way they have a, I think it's called a disomatter or whatever, and that's how they take each person's income, how much time.
Disomaster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's it called again?
Disomaster.
Disomaster.
For what
And,
is- what's
and
that?
that's how it's calculated, how a man, at least in this state,
How much he pays.
How much he
Okay.
pays.
See, I've never done the
So-
child support thing. My kids' fathers, Okay, I'll take that back. When my son's dad and I first split up, like I said, I had my son at 18. We left because we were young and we didn't know what we were doing. You know what I mean? Like we weren't getting along and we just weren't for each other. We're good friends now. You know, even today, like I needed a favor and he's there for me. You know what I mean? And if he needs something from me, I'm there. Like he takes full responsibility for my son. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I don't have to ask him to watch my kid. He raises that boy. You know. I have to like, can I come over and visit? You know, can you come over? Can you make him come hang out with me? You know, like, cause he's a teenager. That's your best friend. Yeah. You guys are only freaking 17 years apart. You know, cause he was a year younger than I was, and so you know, I'm like, it's funny cause he's way bigger than his dad. But
so you
all I ever asked from my kids' fathers is like, just be there and let me go to school, and let me work, and if I need a favor, just help support me, dude. Help me, not financially, but like I said, I needed a favor. You know. And he's there for me. My daughter's dad's the same way, and my man that I'm with now, you know what I mean? Like, he's a good stepdad. He's a good uncle. He's going to be a great father. You know, he talks to my baby now, you know what I mean? Like, makes sure, you know, hires nutritionists, you know what I mean? Like, I'm very blessed, and I'm, like, it makes me want to cry, you know what I mean? Because, like, sometimes I don't realize that, you know? People can sit there and say, oh, this girl got fucking 3 baby dads and this, and I'm like, you know what, bitch? You got one, and you can't even, you know what I mean? Because people do look at me like that. And people will try to sit there and put that on me. It's like, but you know what? I don't give a shit what anybody says about it, you know? Because, like, all, my kids are loved. My kids are taken care of. And I don't have to force a relationship on their dads at all. You know what I mean? And we can all come together and be cool. Right. You know? And they all know that if something were to ever happen to me, like, all I want is for everybody to get along and make sure my kids are still united as a family. And that's it. I can die peacefully, you know? So, but yes, I do think you should, if you're a responsible woman, and if you're not a responsible woman, you know, I think that paternity test will alleviate a lot of stress, you know, and if the man wants to be there, let him be there. If you don't make him, you know, and I know men who have found out years later that they weren't the dad, but they're still there for that kid, you know what I mean, and that's a beautiful thing.
That's nice too.
And it's beautiful, you know, because it's just like, dude, no kid should have a certain amount of love. Like, oh, you have too much love, so yeah. No, a kid can never have too much love. You know what I mean? That's why I said, like, within our family, like, you want to love my you know, my family member, you know what I mean? Go ahead, love that baby. You know what I mean? If you're going to treat it right, if you're going to show it love, do that. Right. Why should I take that away from you?
We do know what you mean. No.
Shut up, Rick. But it's just like, it's for real, so, you know, nobody in this world can not have enough love, you know? I feel like there's not enough love to go around. No. Maybe I'm sensitive. Can I see my sensitive side now?
Boy, Charlie Murphy, my main man, Ric James. That's the one you think, the comedian Ric James. Get up.
I can't hear my neighbor crying. I can't breathe.
Please hit the subscribe button down low so you can see all new clips, all new episodes coming to you.